I'm going to give you the steps that are for ear training for the guitar, the ways that I think you should learn ear training if you're really starting from nothing. There are lots of ear training books for the piano, and although they are very much geared towards sitting in front of a piano and they have the keyboard and like the treble clef and the bass clef, you might find it's not quite related to guitar. It will help a lot in theory and music and ear training just in general, and then you can apply that later to the guitar. So that could be something that can help you. We're going to get started with the very first thing that you should learn, which is rhythm. So you must have a rock solid understanding of what the rhythm is. So the rhythm can be anything from knowing the difference between 16th notes, 8th notes, quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes. You must be very familiar with all of those. The way that you do rhythmic training is with clapbacks, in the sense that you can take a very well-known melody such as Happy Birthday, and you must be able to not only clap it out, so clap that perfectly well, but also be able to notate the rhythm that you've done. Popular melodies, if you're trying to take an example of like an anime song or a K-pop song, those melodies are actually a little tricky to notate rhythmically. So be able to write out just the rhythm. It doesn't matter what the notes are, just the rhythm of that song, and then after that, that will help you enormously when you're going to be doing ear training a little bit later on. So step number 2 is going to be able to know the names of the notes, and this ties in with being able to actually locate them and read them on the treble clef. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then knowing the backwards G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And also to be able to read the treble clef, that's the 5-line staff. It's going to be crucial for you to be able to know how to read these notes and how to locate them on the staff if you're going to be wanting to be proficient in doing music theory as well. Luckily, it's to become at least decently competent in reading music, you don't have to be a super lightning fast at be able to read it or write it on the staff. It's a habit that you do get into, and you can get decently competent in not very much time. So at least there's that advantage. To become very, very good at reading it just at a glance, that will take some more time. Once you've learned how to read and locate the notes on the 5-line staff, then after that, you're going to start to learn intervals. So there are 2 types of intervals. There's harmonic intervals, which are 2 notes played at the same time. And then there's the melodic ones, which are 2 notes played one after the other. So you are going to start with the melodic intervals first, again with Happy Birthday. So you have that starts off with just 2 notes that are a major second apart, and so you're going to learn the difference between the seconds, thirds, fourths, and fifths. The interval is just the distance between 2 notes. So say that you have a distance between G and A. That's the distance of a second because G is the first note and A is the second. So GA gives you the distance of a second. Now you can have bigger distances like what I just played here between A and D on your open strings. These are perfect. This is a perfect fourth. And then you can also take any popular melody like, and you try to identify the interval that's in between the first 2 notes. So as I said, that was the fourth. You try to identify the melodic intervals between the first 2 or the first 3 notes of your melody. And once you get into the habit of being able to identify melodic intervals, after that you can branch off and do harmonic intervals, which ties into being able to hear this, say, as a perfect fifth instead of having to play. That's identifying intervals, being able to identify not only melodic, but also harmonic intervals when they're played simultaneously. So once you've learned those intervals, then the next things that you're going to do is to be able to learn triads and chords. So the reason why that you want to learn, say, the different types of chords is that will enormously help you later on when you're going to be learning harmony, which is how the different chords function together. And the reason why you want to know how the different chords function together is when you're going to be doing transcribing, you're going to be able to hear different strings of chords and be able to notate what the chords are. And then after that, you can go fill it in later in your transcription or your arrangement. This meaning that, say, if you have a series of chords like F, G, A, E, then you want to be able to know that's F major, G major, C major, and E minor, and be able to identify the quality of the chord immediately upon hearing it. The type of chord is based on the intervals between the notes of the chord. So E minor has a minor third and a perfect fifth. So as you can see, there are also not only just major and minor chords, there are also seventh chords and there's diminished chords. So you must know the different types of chords, and to be able to identify and understand the different types of chords, you have to know those intervals. The last thing is to understand the chord function. This is where the music theory books that are for piano, you will have to not use them as much for guitar, because if you are focusing on popular songs, like say the chord sequence that I just played for you is based on a chord sequence that you would see a lot in popular music, but not as much in classical music, because classical music is focused on tonic dominant, whereas in popular music you can have chord loops or chord functions that aren't necessarily going to be tonic dominant. They could also be modal. You will have to go and understand chord function. I might recommend looking at chord loops because we see them a lot in popular music, and learning the different keys. So learning what chords work in A minor, what chords work in C major, what chords work in F major. And there's a whole bunch of other topics in harmony once you get the rudiments down, which is like kind of the first 5 steps that we did. If this is something that is more interesting for you and you like to that I talk more about ear training, or if you want me to talk more about harmony and theory, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.